to propose the governance model to the SEBI or MCA, because you are the people who have been talking about it and have a, so it is an attempt to create a wisdom for the governance.
To give it to the government and help them think through this, and we should continue to do that. That's a very noble objective
Yeah.
of getting in there, so that the regulators get more teeth, and then they are, look what is happening is these days, right? The compliance of GST and the compliance of income tax have got better because the government is using ML and AI. So once they have got a lot of data points and they are able to see, okay, here is Srini and he has gone to US and he traveled, he has got a house, he has got a car, he's doing all these things. And why is he declaring very less income? Then let's go and ask him, buddy, where is your money? Why do you enjoy all these things, but why do you not pay any taxes? So AI and ML in the hand of the government is a very powerful tool for everything else, for ensuring that the governance and the compliance is done better.
Yeah.
So now coming to the topic of governance, what I have generally seen in my mind is long back when I was the CFO, our one of our independent director told me very serious statement. He said that Srini, compliance is doing the right things even when nobody is looking at you. So the risk to corporate governance, if you really look at it, the risk comes from 2-3 areas. The risk is coming where there is an excess. Where there is an excess, there is a tendency to take away something. I mean, or be excess of money, excess of capital, excess of profit, anything that is an excess. And excess can come from monopolies as well. If somebody is a monopoly, and if he is getting an excess, so excess can be an area of not really of substandard governance. Once there is an excess, there is a possibility of having an excess. Will happen from time to time. Excess will happen. For example, one of the biggest reason for lack of corporate governance in startups is because of excess of liquidity printed by the government of United States in what is called quantitative easing. And they printed something like, I don't know, maybe $5 to $8 trillion of cash they just printed and then let into the economy. And just imagine, go back to the water analogy. Literally, there is a flood that has come in. They let down a flood, and you can imagine whatever is happening in Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand now. Say very similar. It is coming from the top also. It's coming with so much of force, takes away everything else, and then there is so much of money which has come into the system of startups. So naturally, the excess has led to a lot of a lot of excesses. Excess has led to a lot of excesses in that sense, right? I think people were there is complete lack of governance. That's what has happened in companies like Mojo Care, Go Mechanic, and even companies in US. There are a lot of, even Byju's for that matter, right? Everywhere else there is this excess. Pharmacy, Pharmacy is the latest example, right? I think they bought Thyrocare for about 3,000, 4,000 crores. Now the company Thyrocare is worth less than half of that because this company has not managed it well. And then they had so much of access to capital. And when they raise their hand, if they want 10 rupees, people are willing to give them 100 rupees. So then there is naturally, once there is an excess, there is ease of access to funds that leads to this kind of corporate governance issues. So when there is an excess of anything, the guys who are responsible for governance, who are there in the position of governance, have to ask for questions, ask a lot of questions, and they'll have to manage this excess responsibly. Excess will come, right? I think economic ups and downs are once again a law, and you can't stop them. The economics itself is very cyclical. So excess will come, but when it is an excess, there has to be, one has to have a lot more one has to remain a lot more vigilant, one has to become a lot more intelligent, one has to become a lot more calm and quiet in the time of excess. And that is a very important thing. If people get, everybody just get, saying, yeah, okay, let's celebrate it, excesses will lead to a lot of issues. So that is what has happened in most of the governance issues, and also in concentrated, where there is wealth that is concentrated in big hands, there is always an excess. And so one has to have, see, anything that is an excess, right, significant amount of wealth in anybody's hand, that they will have to treat that as a societal resource, that it is a resource, it is the responsibility given to me by the society, because one is a rich guy because the society has accepted him as a rich guy, right? It is without the society he can't be rich in isolation. I mean, what's the point? You have got billions of dollars in the middle of a Sahara desert, you can't eat money, right? You need to live with the society so that your money is put to use. So you understand that you are a rich person, you have excess because it comes from the society. So you are holding it as a trustee for the society. So therefore, how do we actually make use of this? So that's why government has brought in a lot of regulations called corporate social responsibility, and it has made it even mandatory. Now, this is a very good measure of corporate governance. That, but the underlying theory is not that government is taking away your profit and your money and for doing something else. No, it is not the case. You have got an excess. And in fact, corporate social responsibility is a paltry 2% or 3% of your super profit and stuff like that, right? It's very small money. And so they are saying that, yeah, keep 98 rupees with you, no problem. Just give me 2 rupees, right? That's what they are asking. And it is a reminder to you that this money doesn't belong to you. This money is a societal resource. And if you look at Tata's, right? I mean, 100,000 crore or something like that goes to their foundation every year. And they plow it back to the society, right? The Tata Trust are the biggest corporate social responsibility they spend on society. And then so you make money, but you put it back on society, you empower the society, you educate the society. And these are all things that one has to do. So you may do it at the level of Tatas, or you may do it at the level of what is statutorily required, which is the minimum 2%. But or you may find yourself somewhere in between. But an understanding that the excess is an excess of the society, it's very important. And then corporate governance, it is, somebody has to stand up and say that, boss, dekho, this is we are just a trustee of the society's resources. And this thought process is very important. So that's just one thought process, right? In my mind, what just comes in when it comes to corporate corporate governance. And second thing is going back to what I said earlier. Like, for example, one has to do the right thing even when nobody is looking at you. Like, you will do always the right things, and you set your own standards. You don't do things because somebody is asking you to do it, right? I think, for easing the flow of traffic, there is a red light, amber light, green light. I mean, I always used to ask people a question. The problem corporate governance also comes from here, right? You ask people what everybody is expected to do in amber light. Everybody will give you uniform answer. Amber light means slow down and stop. This is what I am expected to do. Then I will ask a second question. What is it that you do? Answer will be very different. Answer I do is, yaar, amber light khatam hone se pehle main bhag jata hu. So you know what you should do, but what you do is very different, right? And this is exactly what the compliance differences. So everybody knows, there is a legal thing called ignorance of law is not an excuse. I have 99.5% of the time, or 99.9% of the times, I have not seen people who don't know the law. Everybody knows the law. So everyone knows what to do in an amber light, but what one does is very different. You can ask this question. In fact, this question I normally ask anybody and everybody I meet. 99% I get the same answer. And I've asked it over last. In fact, I always ask people another question. When a lift is stopping in a floor, What do you expect? Yeah, sir, I expect that incoming people should come out first and then I should go last. This is what I expect. Then I ask them the question, what do you do? You say that मैं पहले जाता हूं अंदर. So this is the this is what is leading to the corporate governance. So the problem is everybody knows what to do. But when I am in that situation, so somebody, in our complex, apartment complex, people said, Srini, there are no SOPs. Okay, so we put some SOPs in place. Then these guys got upset that we are implementing the SOPs. So SOP दूसरों के लिए, मेरे लिए नहीं है. So this is what it is. This is what the society largely thinks, and this is right through prevalent. And people think that crossing an amber light is such a very frivolous thing. It's a very small mistake I have done. It's not a question of small mistake or a big mistake, right? You don't know what can happen. I mean, you could have crossed the amber light, somebody else could have come from the other side. It could have led to a very pile of massive accident, a lot of people dying, and all the thing. Possibility is there or not, it is there. But maybe nothing has happened 99% of the time. You just pass through. Okay, that doesn't mean that you should not do that. So this correlation between doing the right things even when nobody is looking at it, what exactly is expected of a legal and compliant behavior from me, and what do I do in that situation, there is this human disconnect is there, and this is very human right across. You can ask anybody for that matter. So there is a fundamental issue of human, I don't know what to call this. Everybody knows what to do, but what they do is very different than what they know. So these are the two major issues, I think, philosophically, that leads to corporate governance issues. So how do we address this, right? I think, if we can trap that, and if we can help companies and say that, look, let there be sanity, let there be one guy who will not get carried away by all these things. There is a reason why in the football match and the cricket match, there is an umpire, right? Very reputed guy. We have got Sachin Tendulkar, and just because there is Sachin Tendulkar and Dhoni, doesn't mean, chalo yaar, Sachin Tendulkar and Dhoni are playing, let us not have umpire. No, you have to have umpires, even when Sachin Tendulkar is playing, even when Dhoni is playing. So that is the role of the independent directors, right? The word independent means that they are not playing. They are neither bowling nor batting. They are independent directors. They are watching. Sakshi Bhavana. So they are the witness. They are seeing what is happening. Since they have no afflictions, they don't see it. They are able to say, boss, ye galat hai, ye sahi hai, lag raha hai ki boss, ye galat. So once again, events that happen may or may not necessarily, they may have an experience of it, but as you grow in age and as you have gray hairs, you have some wisdom, and you are able to kind of independently ask questions, saying that, boss, this doesn't look right. Have you done this? Have you correlated these things? Have you checked? Have you asked yourself these questions? So that has to come from an independent, Atul Gawande, he wrote a book, or he was also known for the TED Talk, where he said that even an experienced surgeon needs a coach. So why the coach is not impacted by what the surgery that is happening. So he is able to see him and give him questions and ask him right question. He says that because I had a coach for my surgery, I improved my surgical skills significantly, right? That's what the guy says. So I mean, it is unthinkable of having a coach in a operation theater for a surgeon, but the guy did, and that's why he spoke in TED. So I'm just saying, neutral guys are very important. Society should, and another thing, Sunil, it is very difficult to find neutral guys. So the society should reward the neutral guys. Society should take care of the neutral guys. Society should respect the neutral guys. So we have to create a set of neutral guys who are neutral, and we need to give them, and they are the corporate governance people. They have to, the independent director as a category is a very important category. And you should try and find out, you should not give them any restriction. Allow them to play their game, allow them to ask questions, don't get upset. don't expect them to be pliable, independent director, truly independent director. Allow them to be truly independent. Allow them to question the thing, because, the khud ka daag khud ko nahi dikhta hai. So you need blind spots are there for everybody else. So there has to be somebody else who has to come and show you the aina. So that is the job of an independent director. So that's I think these are philosophically, I just thought I will attack that, right? Otherwise, people have written enough number of, from the time of Nani Palkiwala, who wrote the first corporate governance guideline. And even now, G20 Sherpa, Mr. Amitabh Kant has written a corporate governance for startups. They have come out with some corporate governance guidelines. You can put a lot of guidelines. You have to have an independent director, you need to have an accounts, you need to have audit committee, all those things, everything is fine. These are all like having an amber light. All these things are having an amber light. And the point is, everybody knows what to do when there is an amber light, but people do it or not is the question. Now we have to have people actually stop in amber light, and we need to tell them that, boss, please understand the conflict in your mind. आपका दिमाग बोलता है ये नहीं करना चाहिए, आपको साफ मालूम है, बट लेकिन अगर आप खुद वो सिचुएशन में हो, आप भागना चाहते हो, तो यार, let me just escape, right? I think I just want to just cross. So that is, if people can do that, the understanding that the conflict between what their, I don't know, maybe it is a bit psychological also, like Daniel Kahneman says that, there is a deeper mind and that there is a, shallow mind and stuff like that, right? Maybe the deeper mind is telling you exactly what, it knows what it is, but the shallow mind is operating and telling you to just go there. So we have to talk more about this. I think corporate governance is also about talking. Why corporate governance? Why it is really important? There has to be a lot of dialoguing about corporate governance. It's not about a mechanism. Mechanism have been very amply, adequately, excellently have been dealt with. सरकार के पास पूरा लिस्ट है, तो हमारे पास एम्बर लाइट है, कहीं है, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. कहाँ जहां पे होना चाहिए उधर एक नहीं है, दो एम्बर लाइट भी है, बट अपने लोग रुकते नहीं है. प्रॉब्लम ये है. उसको they have to stop there. So that's kind of my philosophy around amber light, because what you mentioned, more and more the wealth is concentrating on the hand of few people, and this, countries are experiencing new rise of billionaires and millionaires. Somebody who was not a billionaire, now he is a billionaire, right? Overnight also people become billionaires, and they become strong people, strong spokesperson for the society. They express their views and things like this. So this delineation in wealth is a constant process as countries become richer, right? There is something called Gini coefficient or Gini coefficient, right? I think that's the coefficient that people track, and it is getting wider. It is getting, statistically, it is getting very dispersed. So the rich are becoming richer, the richer are becoming richest, the richest is becoming more powerful. And poor is also becoming, 154 million poor have been uplifted, and all the things data tells you. Forget about the data. Even if you drive to your village, you go to remote parts of Maharashtra, you can actually see people have become richer. There is no doubt about it. Poverty, absolute poverty, abject poverty, people dying because of hunger and all those things has come down significantly. It's people are living fairly good life. There is no doubt about it. But that's not enough. There is a lot of difference between Srini doubling his wealth and Mukesh Ambani doubling his wealth. Society will have a huge impact. Srini doubling his wealth is not at all important. Nobody bothered about it. But Mukesh Ambani doubling his wealth, but both have doubled, right? So that's what it is. So the dispersion is taking place at a faster rate. So therefore, society needs these umpires, more and more of these umpires, more and more of the guys who can call out and say that, boss, this is the right thing. And also educating people on the conflict between what they actually know as right and what they do in the situation when that righteousness is questioned. That has to happen. I think if that happens, corporate governance will get better. So that's my kind of hypothesis, Sunil.
Fantastic, Srini. it's way beyond my expectation. You have touched to almost all rational and very practical thought process, So you talked about basically what I see are the personal individual values and mindset, what is expected,
Yes.
what you do. And then you think that uh, strongly there should be an umpire and independent guy who will who will be working as a coach, what you are doing and what is expected and what is the deviation. So can you please tell me uh, how to identify those, independent guys? Are they really independent? What are the characteristics do you think they should, possess?
Yeah, well, look, I have not thought about it. I think, but there are naturally few guys who enroll themselves as umpires in the in cricket, right? So there are a lot of guys, whereas 100 guys go to the playing, right? Either they are a bowler or a batsman or a wicket keeper and stuff like this. There are probably only two guys who enroll in an umpiring school. So the independent guys are less in number. Okay, so first of all, that is one thing. And secondly, we have to also it can the encouragement can happen if the society kind of gives them, if the umpires are treated at least somewhere, do you know, we all know Dhoni, we know Sachin Tendulkar, we know, Virat Kohli and others. Do we know one of the best umpires in India? We probably not don't know. We probably know Dicky Bird, internationally known well guy, one guy, but we don't know. In football, we know Ronaldo and other things, but we don't know any umpire. So that's so the it's also the society looks at the players take all the limelight, umpires don't take any limelight. So which is the case. So one of the thing is someone has, but the umpires are absolutely fine. They say, yeah, theek hai. One of the attribute is that I don't want to be in the limelight. I don't want to be, society gives me respect. That's fine, no problem. But I am not seeking limelight, right? So it is one thing that people, people have a natural tendency to be the umpires. So those are, I don't know honestly, Sunil, how to define some of the attributes of umpires. We may have to do, you may have to talk to some other guys to get this. But I would think that people who kind of who don't want the limelight, but who are whose moral compass is the north is true north. It is telling you rightly exactly what it is. And the society has to find those guys, and they are very important for functioning of a highly orderly society. Neutral umpires are really important, and the society has to find them. I don't know what are the attributes, honestly. I can't really think of how to do that. Maybe I can do some research and I can sit there. I can send you something by email, but I don't have any answer at the moment.
Yeah, thank you, Srini. I appreciate it. It's evolving, so we need to, work on that, obviously.
Yeah.
So my very next obvious question is that you have been, into this community of IDs now, independent directors. So,
Yeah.
do you think it's working? What are the hurdles in implementation or working with the actual, the people being a ID is how tough or how easy it is? Do you really have a say as an ID, or you just show them this is what is going wrong or right, and then
Mm.
you don't have much control, or do you have control? I don't know. And
That's fair point.
do you appreciate the process of recruiting ID? Because I have seen, means there is a much talk about it. You try to find out people who already, and then you want to accommodate them, so they so you will have a smooth business going. So your thoughts on this, please.
Super question, actually. So, I'll go from the last point, right? I think, what you mentioned is about, I only the recruitment of an independent director. Many companies have a very professional independent director recruitment program. In as much as a CFO or a CEO is recruited, they follow the same rigor and the framework is very, very rigorous in shortlisting an independent director. That's how they approach. But that's minority, significant minority, probably less than 10%. 90% happens by looking for what we call as dependent independent directors, not necessarily independent directors. Okay, so yeah, I know you, so you like me, and we like each other. So in a crisis, which is not wrong, I will not fault with that. That it's dependent doesn't make the independent very flawed. But human beings are a very we are a society, right, where we like people, they go together, right? I think if you like people, form a WhatsApp group, like people form, yeah, they go for hiking together, they live in a society together. So it is about like people. So I know you, therefore I know that, so people are also expecting some bit of predictability in behavior, and then they believe that if I know you, there is a predictability in behavior, therefore I think I know you. Even if we are predictably unpredictable, it is fine. But I want it to be predictable, saying that, look, I know you. So therefore, I think there is a natural tendency to look for known social groups and references and recommendations before they do that. I don't see that it is wrong, but it is. You earlier, the first question is how far an independent director is being effective. I think it has got some portion of the environment, some portion of the independent director also, right? Now let us disregard the environment for a moment, right? We'll talk about the guy. As long as the guy, he believes in himself, he is able to say that, yaar, dekho, ye mere ko bolna hai bhai, or what is happening is not right, it is not wrong, it's not the right thing to do. I want to say that, and I want to articulate that in the right way. I'm able to make an impression that this is not right. Irrespective of the environment, the guy will have an impact. Even if the environment doesn't listen, for example, totally it ignores you. It just keeps you independent director. ठीक है यार, कोई problem नहीं है. आप आके जो बोलना है बोल के जाओ. हमको जो करना है वही करेंगे. Right? If that situation is there, it doesn't really matter whatever this guy has said. It will all get recorded in the human mind, and it will come to recollection at an appropriate time. It will have its own impact. It is highly unlikely that it will have no impact. So it is also important for the independent director to be effectively saying, communicating. Once again, communication. The society has to do some storytelling, and we'll have to give examples and saying that, look, this is what has happened in my career 15 years back. This kind of situation has came. So you should be able to correlate, and you should be able to credibly articulate your views. Okay, the moment you don't back up your views, you don't correlate with past events, and you don't back it up with the evidence and storytelling way. You just say, यार मुझे लगता है ये गलत है. The more and more the independent director says that, he will have no say. But if he is able to credibly articulate, back it up with the story, and if he is able to say that not as his views, but he being another witness elsewhere, and he saw that this is how it is happening, and he's able to articulate that better, it will have an impact. I have seen that. That is my personal experience. I don't normally, tend to put up my views saying that, I like this or I don't like this and all those things. We say that this is what we are saying. We have seen it, and therefore, we are saying you should consider this. And more often than not, right, I think there are these three forces of communicating, right? There is power and control, there is influence, and then there is persuasion. Now, independent directors have to have a lot of persuasive skills and fair bit of influencing skill also. They have to think in their mind. They have no control, no power. The thick line of power is not there. There only influence, there is only persuasion. So they need to become skillful in persuading and in influencing. If that happens, they will be able to do that easily. That is A. And so, these are all situations where we don't know what is the situation outside. Situation can be very different. So I have control only on what I can do. Therefore, I should do the right things. Now, but situation is also very important. One has to make an analysis and understanding of before joining as an independent director, is this the right organization that I should join? One should do some little bit of a due diligence. It's not that the company does the due diligence on the individual. Individual also should do a due diligence on the company and say that yes, yaar, ye sahi jagah hai, mere ko jana hai, either, I will make a difference and I will enjoy my stint. So it is as important as that. So it is a two-way traffic, but more important is the independent director has to realize that he has to have more persuasive and persuasion and influencing skills that will make his, वो है तो वो बंदा को जो बोलना है वो बोलेगा बोलेगा उसका इम्पैक्ट होगा 100% होगा.
Yeah, now you are talking about the attributes. Fantastic. So
Okay.
yeah, it's evolving, right? That will be great. Thank you.